Hi everyone, and today I'm sharing a few tips for your Tadasana. As many of us practice this pose, no matter what style of yoga you're practicing or teaching, I believe from my experience that if you stand well in your posture while doing Tadasana, this affects, like a domino effect, your standing poses, your gait, your walking, your sitting. I think everything in your daily lives, because most of the time we don't know how to stand well in our natural curves. And while we're doing Tadasana, we can infuse that pose in between our standing poses, for example, and replicate the integrity of Tadasana in every standing pose, remembering the natural spontaneous curves in our lumbar and thoracic and cervical spine, which is the effect of going from the correct natural position of your pelvis. And then from that, the spine receives its positioning and flies up. So I'm going to stand on my mat behind me and we'll introduce you to a few steps how I feel this in my body. And then I will show you how we might correct it a bit while we are sitting a lot in the office or maybe after driving or just in between because we might forget and we don't sense it in the body. Okay, so let me share my mat behind me. So when you stand in Tadasana, I am practicing with my feet parallel while the outer edge of my feet parallel to the edges of the mat and they're not together. So I'm keeping down my hips width apart. And then remembering that the pelvis wants to keep it natural, neutral positioning. So I'm not tucking my tailbone and I'm not too much anterior tilting it forward. So it's remembering this position where the tailbone is naturally, I'm not even saying it goes down because it's what the pelvis does and not what the tailbone, what it does. So your shoulders want to find the correct space in this position just above your hips, and the hips naturally positioning themselves above the knees, above your ankles. And then the head obviously wants to float above all the curves and above the pelvis, above the sacrum. The hands naturally, spontaneously hanging. So I'm not trying overdo it or just trying to do something with my pelvis. I'm just allowing my pubic bone, my navel to drop forward and down. And that's making the pose without any effort. So if you need to see maybe with your mirror or like a camera right now that I'm seeing, so my ear and my shoulder, my pelvis, knees, and ankles, they create this one line. And if it's hard to find this position, you might want to come to one of the edges that you can find in your house. For example, where your door edge is. And so you have this angle, and then you would come here. Let me show you a little bit more of my head so you can see the curves. So I'm not standing right close too much. So my feet a bit like 5 centimeters ahead of the wall. And then what touches this edge is only the sacrum in between my shoulder blades and the back of my skull. And that's exactly where my natural curves of the whole spine, the vertebral spine, should be in the concave or the other caving, like the lumbar spine and the thoracic, and then again the cervical spine go simultaneously, the opposite, and then the sacrum again. So they work in harmony. Try this Tadasana. Practice this for a few breaths without rushing to move ahead, and then come back to this in between your standing pose and feel the reflection of the action of the pose. And it's neutralizing. It really embodies the previous pose and makes you feel the effect in a more natural and the obvious way that we usually don't see because we are rushing through the practice. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe it's changed something for you. And when you're standing in line for shopping your groceries or waiting for someone, you can stand and feel the weight of the body equally on the bones instead of, maybe tilting to one side, one leg. We usually tilt the pelvis or sit crossed legs. Maybe next session we'll do the video about how to sit well. So when you're sitting, just a slight tip ahead, remember dropping the pubic bone and navel down, creating this natural curve in the lumbar spine. And once you're positioning the pelvis in this natural space without tucking your tailbone in seated and in standing positions, then the spine receives the action of the pelvis. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time, next video. Bye for now.